What is up, guys? It is your boy Royal Mech, and today we are actually going to be going back to basics. Being that we're gonna start going back into what created this channel in the first place, and that being Cardfight Vanguard. So it might not be as much content for Vanguard as I do Digimon content, but I do want to go back into Vanguard content, being that I'm actually more regularly actually involved in it again. So I thought, since I'm back into the game of Vanguard more regularly outside just casual play, I thought I'd bring you guys back along with me on the journey. So we'll get started there. To start off, this past weekend, on the weekend of December 15th to the 17th, I did participate in the BCS 2023 Anaheim regionals. I interacted in both standard as well as in premium. Today though, we are going to be talking about my premium deck. Now, originally for premium, for those of you guys who are Vanguard players, if you guys are still aware, premium, premium is the universal format for those who don't know. For Vanguard, Vanguard is currently split into three formats. It is standard, which is the current set of support; V Premium, which is the V era of cards for Vanguard as an entire play set as their own; and then lastly we have Premium, which unites all sets under one banner. You can play all the cards and the pool together into one deck. So today I am going to go over my premium deck for Gear Chronicle. This is the one I played in regional outside of 1 to 2 cards. I did flip them around because I felt more comfortable one way than the other after playing in the tourney. But there are a few cards I did change to current, but this is primarily still the same list. I will go over what I changed so you guys get a better idea of what it really was. So to start off with my starter, I did start off with Chrono Dran. He is their generic starter for Gear Chronicle. He does have the ability on ride, you draw a card. Now if you're the second player player 2 going second, you not only just draw a card, but you also get a gift marker. So, really good. For those who don't know, gift marker is a ticket you get, a token ticket you get that you can use in this game. It produces for guarding ability, and yeah, we might go into a video of how to play, but primarily, for those of you who are Vanguard players, you guys are originals, so this is for you primarily. But this is our starter. We always will play drawn in deck. Next up, I will go over my my grade 3s and 4s first. Then I'll go into things on the down end. So to start, I did play 4 copies of Steam Maiden Ulul. Her abilities are as follows. The first one is Act. Once per turn, bind a card from your drop. Choose a card with Steam Maiden in its name. In its card name from your bind zone, call it to rearguard circle. Then it has the auto effect on Vanguard Circle. Once per turn, at the end of the battle, your rearguard with Steam Maiden in its card name attacked, bind that unit. Choose a card with a grade equal to the card bound by this card. For this cost grade +1 from your bind zone, call it to rear. If you called a grade 1, counter charge 1. Then it has one last ability that on Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, during your turn, this unit gets +1,000 for each card in your bind zone. If it's on the Vanguard Circle, it gets 3,000 instead of 1,000. So this is pretty much our main unit we want to ride into in the game. She is our boss. She allows everything else in this deck to trigger off outside of like 1 or 2 cards, but she's the main reason this deck is successful. You do want to run her at 3, 4, no more, no less, because you always want to see her. On to the next card for our grade 3s. We play 3 copies of the V print era of Chrono Jet Dragon. This guy has the on activation effect. Once per turn, I may discard a total cost of grade 3 from my hand. to Superior Ride a grade 4 from deck, and then at the end of the turn, retire that unit, and it will get sent to the trash, and you rewrite this. Why this is good is because it works in tandem with the mechanics of the deck itself, and with helping you do something that we call a down ride. With currently called a ride down. That is a little more reason. It's one, honestly, what you want to, if you're going first, this is the first guy you want to ride primarily, because then after riding into him, you can then cause your opponent some disruption, and then from there you just proceed further. Now, because we do run also Chronojet does have the ability, when this attacks on Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, you may counterblast 1 to then gain 5,000 power, and your opponent cannot use anything with the term Sentinel in its name. Thus meaning can't call Sentinels. Being that meaning they can't use what we call perfect guards in game, and so this just shuts them out from guarding heavily. But you primarily are only riding into this boy on the early end, and then you continue on the back end back into your Steam Maidens. Now, because we do run Chronojet, we do run 2 copies of Time Leaper Dragon. Now, Time Leaper Dragon's effect is when this card attacks, you choose one of your rear guards, put it to the bottom of your deck. You may send Superior Call a unit 1 grade higher, and it gains 10,000 power till the end of turn. Now, why this is important is because, like I said, this is your startup, and your startup in your game, if you're going first, to ride into the Chronojet, play him, and you want to get into a particular unit ahead of time to help trigger your ride down. And ride down is important because the mechanic of striding needs both players to be level 3 for the first stride to a trigger. But if they're not, if you're both not 3, they can't stride, and this helps initiate that factor. We'll go into the card next that actually helps reflect into that just a little bit. After that, the last 3 of the deck, we play 1 copy of Re-Innovate Winged Dragon. He is here to help assist in generating your bind zone for Steam Maidens. You play the cost of 1 soul after playing this to bind 2 cards on your board. Now, primarily you're binding this and 1 additional card to look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Call 2, bind 1. So for itself and an additional rear guard, you get to replace them as well as building your bind zone. So we play this at 1. You really are only using it to help build the bind. If you don't see it, oh well. Now on to our level 2s, our grade 2 units. I'm going to start with the card, one of the important cards in question of this deck. Now, first up, we're going to talk about Steam Maiden and Tirana. Now, because of the ban list, you can only play this at 1. However, that it's because of how much gain you get out of this. Now, its ability is on. Now, the reason this is important, this card is useful, and this is important. These 3 actually are a combo piece together, right? So what happened and why this is important is because of this card's effect. So first off, it has the on-play effect. When played, counterblast 1, search your deck for 1 copy of Traveling with the Storm Gear Cat, which is this grade 1. We'll go into this later. And call it to a rearguard circle in the same column as this card. Afterwards, it has the ability, at the end of the battle this card boosted, Soul Blast 1, look at the top 2 cards, reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. You bind 1, add 1 to hand. Now, why this is good? Because it helps generate your bind zone, and it also draws you a card. Now, in tandem with Time Leaper Dragon, why this is important is because Time Leaper rides into Chronojet. It's not what we call a stride unit. It's a ride unit. So Chronojet is in your soul here. And why that's important is because by having this play to do its skill and then ending its turn, ending its battle, you can Soul Blast Chronojet out, which then allows, when this reverts, you have to revert to the next available grade in the soul. So because you can't do a 3, you go into a 2. And that helps get get in the way of your opponent from striding on their turn, which just causes a lot of slow play on their end, but it definitely helps you in the long run. This was a good hit for ban list because it is a good utilizer of making the deck's bind zone bigger faster, but it's still at 1 and it's still usable to a full extent. Now, on to one of the main great 2s of the deck. We got 4 copies of Steam Maiden Alul. She has the ability on play, when played from the bind zone, you may bind a card from your trash, and then this unit gains 3,000 power for each grade of the unit bound. Now, this is important because it helps generate bind, and this on its own can attack before it needs any kind of booster support. Then, after this unit attacks, it has the ability, once per turn, at the end of this, once per turn, after this, at the end of the battle, this unit attacked, you may counterblast 1, bind this unit, and then call a unit 1 grade higher. This means once this is gone, and if you bound a grade 3, this gets turned into a grade 3 after the fact. So it swings for about, it can swing between 13 and 19 to even 13, 19 to 22 on its own, and then it binds, turns into a grade 3. You run this also because it helps you generate a loop in the deck, and it just gets crazy. After that, we play 2 copies of Steam Scarla Karunta. Karunta's ability is on play, you counterblast 1, soul blast 1, choose one of... Now, you can also use this card when you go into time with Time Leaper to generate the same overall effect, but you would primarily still want to go into Enterana, because she, in turn, is honestly overall a better unit choice. But if you can't, you go into Karunta, because he does almost the exact same thing. So you would counterblast Soul Blast, go into him, on play, counterblast Soul Blast. You get to choose a unit from your side of the field or your opponent's to then search your deck for a 1 unit a grade higher. And then you shuffle. So this also helps you generate board as well as disrupting your opponent's field. I wanted to play this at 3. I do not have 3, but 2 still did what it needed to do. The effect also still works on play, so it's not as much of a detriment as you would think. Next, I play 2 copies of Steam Mechanic Naboo. She has the ability of, when this unit attacks, bind a card from, when it attacks Vanguard, bind a card from your trash. When you do, your opponent cannot guard with grade 1s or higher. At the end of the battle, add to soul, draw a card. So this card's important. It's twofold. It definitely creates aggression early, as well as it does force your opponent to use more of their grade 0s to guard, and shuts them out of using any of their 3s. But then it's also a draw and it generates soul. We like these. I wish it was Steam Mating in name, but it's still good just as a 2 of, and you'll see it. Last but not least, in my grade 2s, I play 1 copy of Steam Shooter Alangard. He has the ability once per turn, when this is boosted, when this attacks while boosted, you may counterblast 1, choose a card, choose one of your rear guards, put it to the bottom of your deck, and transform it to a grade higher, aka time leaping, pseudo time leaping. So this just helps keep your attack pressure going fast. And then it has the other ability at the start of your ride step. If you're a grade 1 or lower, you can discard this from hand, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and then grab a grade 2 or less card and get it to hand. This is really good as a 4 of in the Chronojet variant of this deck, because you would be able to get your crest guaranteed. In this variant, you really only need it at 1 of, because you search enough for your pieces as B. Now on to the grade 1s. First up, we play 4 copies of Traveling with the Storm Gearcat. Now this boy is probably one of the best cards in this deck. What you do is you play it, then you may look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add a Steam Maiden to your hand from among them, and you bottom deck the rest. Now, why this? And then why this is important, because this just helps you get your pieces and it's easy to find with the grade 2. It then has the auto when boosting, it gains 1,000 for each card in bind zone. So even after your grade 2's done, if this is still on board, or even if you ride and find this early to hard play it, longevity wise, this keeps just buffing up your turns because your bind zone just going to get bigger and bigger. Next, we are playing, my current variant is playing 4 copies of Steam Maiden Elu. Now, during the regional, I did have this only at 3, and it was switched. The number was switched between this and one other card, and the next card will go over. But her ability is once per turn, act. I may Soul Blast 1, bind a grade 2 or less card from my hand, and then draw a card. If I bound a trigger unit, I draw 2 cards. Now, why this is good is because it helps generate your bind zone in the early game and can help you start getting all your necessary pieces where they need to be. Also, it has the ability at the end. It also shares the ability with the grade 2 Steam Maiden that at the end of the battle, this attack, you can counterblast 1, put it in the bind to call a grade 2. Primarily, you want to combo this into your grade 2 Steam Maiden, which then turns the Steam grade 2 into a grade 3 and just keeps the combo line going. It's nuts. Now, last main unit in the grade 1s, we run 3 copy for the updated variant of Lost Gear Dog 8. This boy is one of the best cards V came out with for the Gear Chronicle clan because it just fixes the deck so much. What it does is on ride, you get to reveal a grade 3 from your hand to search your deck for a grade 3. Then after you've added a card, discard a card from your hand up to the grade total of 3. Now, after that, it also has the ability from hand, this can be discarded and considered as a grade 3. Why this is important is because, 1, it can be used as a stride fodder, as well as it meets the cost requirement for things such as Chrono Jet's superior riding skill and other skills of the such. Now, this and the Steam Maiden were switched. This was at 4, the other one. So this and the Steam Maiden actually had a switched ratio at first. This was at 4, then the Steam Maiden was at 3. I felt overall this is a better one to put at 4 because of other changes I made to the deck as of right now. Those were all the grade 1 units. However, we do have 2 units left. 2 cards left. I do play 1 copy of Elementaria Sanctitude. You are playing against Stride decks in Premium, so this is a free guard. Don't have to give anything up, but just use this on a Stride turn. Shut out 1 attack for free. It's just good. And it also gets around a lot of the guard controls. Last but not least, we play 1 copy of TikTok Worker. This card does wonders. This card helps so much in generating your bind zone. It helps you get pieces from the deck out on board early while you're in your middle of your attack phase, so you can keep the pressure going. I honestly am going to try to fit a second one in here. I only played 1 as of right now and in regional, but I'm thinking of trying to hit this up to 2 because it's just so pressuring. Now, we're going to go into the triggers. The trigger lineup is pretty simple. I don't think anybody really has any ifs, ands, or buts about it. We are playing 4 copies of Heart Thump Worker. This is the updated variant of Heart Thump, so it does have the ability, if triggered and damaged, you draw a card like its Vanguard 0 counterpart. We play 4 because you should be. It's just good advantage as a crit. We also play 4 copies of the Stride Critical. Now, this is also part of the reason why I just went ahead and dropped Gear Dog 8 to 3, because I still have Stride Fodders in the form of critical triggers. Then we play 3 copies of the Draw PG. So, but you guys all know, you put in Guardian Circle to activate its effect, discard a card, your 1 unit cannot be attacked, or the attack is unsuccessful. Then We do play one copy of the Dark States over trigger. This card just works really well in Guerrilla Chronicle, being that you do attack a lot. So this is just extra benefit on your turn for your Vanguard swings when you get to start restanding. Because now your Vanguard has crit plus 10, crit plus 1, and 10k for the rest of the game. Seeing this early just shuts the game out for you. Honestly, this is one of the best cards I've ever had. Alright. Next, we're going to go into our heal triggers. For the heal trigger, we play 2 copies of the Heal Guardian. Because in this build, we already have a lot of stride foddering, so we don't need really that much more. But if we see it early game, this does help with the grind game. It has the abilities when put in Guardian Circle. If nobody has rolled grade 3, you can activate one of these abilities. The first one is you get your Vanguard gains 10k till the end of the turn. The second one is you may -2 crit from your opponent's Vanguard. 2 of these is actually just enough, especially for Steam Maidens, because you do need to make some space to play the another Steam Maiden that resides in the 0 lineup, and she is a heal. So in the regional, I played this at 4. After playing in the regional, I did wish this was actually a grade. This was the other unit, because it would have just helped generate an additional attacker. Then last but not least, we do play 4 copies. We do play for our last heal. We play 2 copies of the Steam Maiden Uluru. Now, this is still a heal, but it's part of the reason we play it. The other reason is because it is Steam Maiden, she can generate the effects of Elu, of our boss mama Elu, as well as her get that countercharger availability. So that's primarily why she's in here. She's good to be a target for that effect, as well as the effect of Elu, where she can bind you can bind from hand. If you see these 2 in hand, you're pretty much straight. And that's just why you play those. So now we're going to go on to our G-Zone. First up, we do play the 1 copy of Harmonix Messiah. I'm not going to really go into deep here in this area, because most people should know what's going on. You get 1 copy of Harmonix. This way you can get your Guardian ticket. No real problems there. We play 3 copies of Slishma. She's the remaining piece to cause the Steam Maiden power loop. I actually got that loop off a couple times in the regional. So did good work there. Just too good not to run at 3. Once you activate her the first time, the loop triggers and you're just going ham. Now, because we do run Chrono Jet, we are running 2 copies of Chrono Dragon Gear Groovy. This does have the ability to copy any Gear Dragons in my face up in my G zone, so I can copy 2 abilities at one time and just get to keep going off. Then we play 2 copies of Chrono Dragon Next Stage. We play 1 copy of the original and 1 copy of the premium Stride deck set. Reason being, the original could flip up the Premium Stride deck set variant for its cost, which then allows you to copy this one in the G zone through the effect of Gear Groovy, instead of having to pay the cost of striding through him. You just stride into this one for normal strides. To flip this to then allows you on the turn you Gear Groovy to use him as the effect. That really didn't come up, but it usually will depending on how late in the game you go. One of the last few main stride units we run is Grogrock. Grogrock's really good. He does give you the ability to extend your attack turn. So what he does is at the end of the battle he attacked, you bind 4 of your rear guards to re-ride into a grade 3 or 4 unit in your from your deck. So virtually what you can do with him is stride into ride into on your turn, ride into Chronojet, stride into Grogrock, stride into Grogrock, use all of your rear guard. Actually, you usually go Elul. If you can't use the Steam Brow anymore, you go into Grogrock. With Grogrock, you have your rear guard swing first, let them get bound. You then go ahead, swing with Grogrock. You then swing, do all their stuff, swing with Grogrock. Grogrock then binds your rear guards. This then turns into Chronojet. Chronojet then can just go into shutting out your opponent's board and forcing them into dealing with another attack on board from your Vanguard. This going into Chronojet just makes it more pressuring because Chronojet has that guard restrict. Then lastly, we play one copy of Dust. He is your ultimate stride of the deck. You primarily just have him here when you have no other option left. He does deal 1 damage to your opponent if they have 4 or less. And then it puts them to 1, and then from there you just get to punch them until they're done. Really good card at 1. If you don't finish him in this turn, you lose your G zone, so that kind of hurts. Then we'll go into our G guards. We play 1 copy of Hetero Round Dragon. He's just board disruption, but you can only use him when you're Chronojet Vanguard. That's why. You play 2 copies of Bearlock. Bearlock's a really good G guard because if you already have face up cards in your G zone, all you have to do is bind a great equivalent to grade 3 to generate this from the G zone without giving up a heal, and it gains 5 extra shield for each card you use. Primarily, you might just use 1, but this can also be used to use more, as well as helping get any grade 3s you have on board back into bind zone, especially in regards to Steam Maidens. Then we play 1 copy of Uluru. Her ability is GB3 Counterblast 1. She gains flip a G card in the G zone, and then she gets a 500. Let me double check for you guys. She gets 5,000 shield for each card face up in the G zone. So late game, she scales with the game. So late game, she just shuts out heavily. She can be one of your weakest blockers or one of your highest blockers. It just all depends. Next, we play 1 copy of Rafana. Her ability is you choose one of your rear guards, put it to the bottom of your deck to call a grade 0 from deck. If you do, she gains 10k extra shield. This is how you get access to your TikTok worker technically for free from the deck no matter where it is. This definitely helps keep your combos going long and strong. And then lastly, we play 1 copy of History Vision Dragon. He is technically just another G guard. You G guard to call him Counterblast 1, discard another 2 cards that equal up to grade 6. When you do, this becomes a PG. That's honestly why you play it, because it's a way to get a PG on board with around the restrictions, any guard restricts in the game. Well, that's been the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me if you liked having Vanguard content on the channel. For you guys who were with me when it was just Vanguard, tell me if you guys enjoy having it back. If so, I will make sure to alternate or add some surprise more Vanguard content into the channel. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.